This is Betting Weekly Extra Time Euro 2024 edition. Time to focus on the two groups that feature the two nations right at the top of the market when it comes to winning the tournament. You're with Dan Roebuck, and to preview Group C and D of the action in Germany, Nigel Seeley and James Eastham are alongside me. We're going to start, obviously, with England in Group C. They are the favourites to progress as group winners here. Nigel at minus 250, Denmark plus 400, Serbia plus 800 and Slovenia plus 1,000. On the face of it, this is a very, very straightforward for Gareth Southgate's side.
Very, very straightforward. One thing Gareth Southgate does, he negotiates these group matches and these group fixtures very well in qualification and in major tournaments as well. We used to go into World Cups when I was a kid, and I suppose you was a kid as well, Dan. James was probably a little bit younger than us, but we had to win the last game to get through to the last 16. Now these youngsters are used to the fact that England have already qualified and they can put the reserves out for the final group stage. Never used to be like that, but that's what Gareth Southgate does. He does know how to get through these group stages. When it gets to the knockout stages, I'm slightly more worried about that. But you couldn't really have picked a better group really for England, I don't think. I think they should win this group fairly comfortably. I haven't actually had a wager on England to win the group, but what I have done is I've invested £5,000 that England win a quarter final and a semi final, which I bought tickets for, which means they have to win this group. So if they don't win the group, I've got to sell those tickets to get on a plane to the other side of Germany.
You've got a significant investment completely by default here. Well, not completely by default.
I'm in Dusseldorf and England are playing in Munich.
James, what do you make of England? I mean, they were second to Wales in their group back in 2016. They did win their group at Euro 2020, of course, played the following summer. But on the face of it looks pretty straightforward, doesn't it, for them to come out of this as group winners?
Yeah, I think with the big favourites in groups, Dan, often you look at it and you're trying to find a reason why they won't win it. You know, because they're short prices. You might want a bet on the group. You're like, well, do I fancy backing England when there's such a short price to win it? But here, I can't honestly see a good reason why they won't win it. You look at the teams they're playing, Denmark, Serbia, Slovenia, absolutely nothing special there. This isn't a group of death. It's not even a group where you think, well, that team's much closer to England than the market suggests. So I'm completely with Nigel on this. One thing that England should do, they should just run through this group, really, with the quality they've got. If they picked up injuries, even if they wanted to rotate on the final game, if they've won the first two, they should win the group with very little fuss, very few problems. Even if they don't play that well, they've got enough quality in their side to win it. So I can't see any outcome here other than England topping the group.
Yeah, no complacency here at all. We saw that against Iceland in the final friendly. Crikey. We can only come a cropper with this. Anyway, we're not tipping England to win the group in terms of our money down. We think that they will. I'll get the boys 1, 2, 3, 4 shortly. We'll talk our way through Denmark, Serbia and Slovenia in a sec. But we have got a number of prop bets here that the boys like when it comes to England specifically. Nigel, top scorer, first of all, talk us through your play here.
Well, I think James likes the same play as me here on this one, and so I think it's an obvious play, but I think the price is very, very attractive, and that is Harry Kane to be the top England goal scorer. I mean, the guy is exceptional. He raises his game. I think he's the most prolific goal scorer or out-and-out centre forward in the world currently. I mean, Lewandowski is obviously. We don't have many out-and-out centre forwards in the game anymore, but Harry Kane is that old traditional centre forward. His record this year with Bayern Munich was exceptional: 32 matches, 36 goals. His record for England is unbelievable. What is it? 63 matches, 63 goals in 91 caps for England. He's the record England goal scorer. And he's the man that delivers on the big stage. His record in major tournaments, World Cup last year, 2 goals. He wasn't the top goal scorer that year, though. It was Rashford and Saka, but he obviously missed that all-important penalty against France, which would have made him he sort of got a dead heat in that market. He was top goal scorer in the World Cup in 2018 with 6 goals. Obviously, top England scorers then. Top goal scorer in the 2020 European Championship for England with 4 goals. He takes penalties, and with the pace of this England side. And the one thing they have got is pace, and they've got a lot of direct players. Saka, Gordon off the bench, Eze will run at them. They've got Foden. But England will get their fair share of penalties in this tournament. And they always do. And Kane, apart from that match against France, which is still hurting me in Qatar, he's Mr. Reliable from the penalty spot. So he's so far ahead of the other players. If you look at the England squad, the only other player in double figures is Saka with 11 goals. There's no Rashford this year. And I'm surprised that Rashford's not there. No Grealish as well, who would be contenders, to score goals as well. But Saka is the second top goal scorer in the England team. And if you go to the third top goal scorer in the team, it's Foden with just 4 goals. So Kane will play every minute that England, barring injury, will be in the competition. He even, I still think that he would probably play in a third place match, give him some run out. And he's got the motivation. He wants to break records. He wants to score goals. The other thing about him is that he's used to playing in Germany. And it might not be a big factor, and I don't think a lot of people have looked into that, but playing in conditions in stadiums you're used to and playing in places that you're familiar with and the area and stuff like that, I think that will help him. So I think I am setting a big tournament for Harry Kane. I like him to be the top goal scorer in the tournament as well, because I think England are going to score a hatful of goals. But at minus 137, I just think it's an obvious play. I would, you want to come in some of these preview shows, people are picking out bets at 33 to 1 and 25 to 1, but I'd rather bet a minus 137 winner than a minus 33 to 1, a 33 to 1 loser. So Harry Kane, obvious play, but he's a great bet for me at minus 137 with all the statistics.
Yeah, we've got bigger plays to come, but James, you're doubling down on Harry Kane here, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great price. I think another factor on this to take into account is that much is being made of how many goals England players have scored at club level this season. Don't be fooled by that. Cole Palmer's obviously scored a stack of goals for Chelsea, for example.
Penalties.
Well, yeah, a lot of those are penalties. He's not on the penalties. Phil Foden scored a lot of goals for Manchester City. We're not sure, but we don't think he'll be playing in exactly the same position as he played in Man City. If he plays on the left, is he going to be cutting in and scoring goals on his right foot? No, he's not. So there's that factor. Bellingham's obviously been an outstanding finisher for Real Madrid this season. But with Harry Kane in front of him, he won't have the room to get in the box and score the goals the way he does for Real Madrid. So don't be fooled too much by those club scoring records. I think that might have influenced the price here on Harry Kane a little bit. This price is way too big, in my opinion, minus 137, given, as Nigel says, how far ahead he is of everybody else in an England shirt. So, it's a great shout and a really, really good price. It's one of those prices that the minute they start playing will start to look silly, I think, because he's such a fantastic finisher for England.
One thing, Dan, sorry, just to say that Saka also takes penalties as well. And that's another one. He took a lot of penalties for Arsenal. I see. Harry Kane always starts slow as well. He started very slow in the. He did all right. He got off straight away in the. He started slow in the Euros over here. He didn't score until the Germany game. Then he went on a roll. He didn't score in the World Cup early doors as well, and in the World Cup before as well. He had that game when we played Paraguay, was it, or something? We won 6-0, or Ecuador. I think we won about Panama. And then he got the goals in at the game. So it takes him a bit of time to get going. So
are you saying it might? So are you saying here that might? Because I'm surprised the minus 137 is holding up. Are you suggesting it might get a little bit bigger?
I think England could probably win the first match 1 or 2-0. And it might be not Harry Kane on the score sheet. And I'm saying that you might get plus 170, 160 after the first game. Obviously, if he scores the 2 goals, he's minus $7. But Kane doesn't. He's a marked man in the first match. He's a marked man, and it takes him a bit of time. But if he gets a penalty, then that changes the situation. But in the Euros, it took him to the Germany game before he got on the score sheet. So, and then he went on a great run. He scored 2 in the match over in Rome as well against Ukraine in the quarterfinal. So. Yeah, and he scored the penalty against Denmark, so it took him a lot of time. The first 2 matches he didn't score. It was one goal, and it was scored by Raheem Sterling. So, yeah, I think it's a great price now. You can take the price now, but if you miss the boat and it gets even lower, say it got to like minus 155 and you thought, I'm not going to play that price, then don't worry too much. After the first match, maybe go in again if he doesn't score, because I think he will hit a run.
Yeah, it could split your stakes, various different ways to get involved potentially with Kane, but at the minute we think he's a really good play. Just a couple of others to mention when it comes to England from Nigel here. Top assists market, Nigel, you've gone for a fair price here.
I love this bet. I really do. I really like this bet, and I think he's going to have a brilliant tournament. I think it's Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think he's been overlooked with the emergence
he's fifth favourite here for this market.
Yeah, I think it's staggering. The reason why I think this is staggering is because I think he's been overlooked in a lot of markets, and I think England don't realise what a quality or Rolls-Royce player we have here because of the emergence of Bellingham, because of Saka, because of Foden. But this kid is the real deal. I think he's an exceptional football player. His passing ability is superb. He's no one else is in the. Everyone else is direct in the England team. You get players running at trying to play little 1-2s around the box, and he'll offer you something completely different here. He's going to play in midfield, which is massive for the assist. Obviously, he's been playing as a fullback for Liverpool, but he's going to play in midfield for England. He's going to take corners from one side. He'll be involved in every single set piece. I think he'll be our set piece taker. And then if you look at the breakdown of him, he didn't have a great season last year. He only had, I think, 4 assists, but he missed a lot of action halfway through. He struggled to get in the side. But now he's playing this advanced position. I think that helps it. He played twice for England in the advanced position at the end of last season. England produced their best 2 performances. They beat North Macedonia 7-0, and he got 2 assists in that match. And he played in Malta, and we beat Malta 4-0, and he got an assist and a goal. In that advanced role, he's got a wand of a passing ability. If you look at his stats on the assists in the Premier League, last year he only got 4, but in 2023 he got 7 assists. It was the second Englishman behind Saka. In 2021-22 he got 12 assists. He was the second overall behind Salah, who was the top English assist in the Premier League. 2021 he was 7 assists, 6. 19-20, 13 assists, second overall behind De Bruyne. And in 18-19 season, he was 12, third overall, top Englishman again with 12 assists. The only person who's had more assists to him over that period of time in the Premier League is Kevin De Bruyne and Salah. There's only 2 of them. He's got third most assists, and now he's playing in a more advanced role than a fullback. I think he offers England something completely different, and if he gets off to a good start, he'll cement his place in that team. And I think that we've got to capitalise him. I think he'll score for England as well in that advanced role. When he come on against Iceland the other night, he was the best player on the pitch, absolutely the best player on the pitch. And he's going to start in midfield. And I think we've forgotten about what he's done in previous years, and we've only remembering his 4 assists this season. But he's a proper player, and I think it's a big tournament for Trent.
Trent
just
Alexander,
on that, Dan.
go on, James.
Yeah, very quickly, I was going to say, this is one of those bets that shows that the qualifying cannot tell you everything. People at the moment are looking so strongly and understandably at how teams did in qualifying, what were the stats, which of course has got plenty of value, but obviously Trent wasn't even playing in most of the qualifiers, let alone in this midfield position that we think he's going to play for England. So it's one of those bets which will go under the radar a little bit because you can't correlate it with anything that happened in the qualifying. They are worth looking out for.
I think he's sorry, Dan, we keep interrupting you. I think he's a bet at 28-1 to be the top assist in the whole tournament as well. Which isn't as great value when you consider he's 8-1 just to be the top England assist, but 33-1 because I think England are going to get hatfuls of goals and they're going to concede, and I believe that he's going to be the main contributor. He's going to be on every set piece for England. He'll be our set piece taker.
Yeah, I'm just desperate to move us all on because we've had 12 minutes on England, and not that we got stick for doing exactly the same thing on the outrights.
I'm trying to get you away from talking to me about Slovakia. I'm trying to run that clock down to the 20 seconds when you come to Slovakia.
We like to inform about all the nations in all of the groups. Just very quickly, this is not an official play, Nigel, but you think England are going to be involved in their games are going to produce a lot of goals, so they're plus 330 top tournament goal scorers, but if you're looking at overs and that sort of thing, it might be a lean for you.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet them probably at plus 330 to be the top scorers, but I do think England matches will be very entertaining because their weakness is their defence and their attacking ability is as good as anybody, so I think that England games will be very entertaining.
Let's just get some thoughts on the other 3 teams in this group then. Denmark, Serbia and Slovenia. Denmark are the second favourites to top the group at plus 400. They are minus 125 for a top 2 finish here. James, your thoughts on Denmark here? I mean, they've been dark horses previous Euros and World Cups, but no one's talking about them this time around, are they?
No, not really. I must admit I'm not a massive fan of the team. I don't think that they justify how clear they are as second favourites in this group. For me, I get it, I understand it, I know why they are, but I don't think there's a huge amount between them and the other two teams in the group behind them. I mean, if you look at the qualifying group, they actually finished on the same number of points as Slovenia, falling in the same group as Slovenia here in the finals, and Slovenia are a much bigger price to get through, much bigger price to finish second, etc., etc. So Not a massive fan of Denmark. There was one bet I actually quite liked on Denmark. It was on Højlund to get over 1.5 goals with Bet Rivers, which is odds against. We think he's going to be the main man in attack. They are going to try and feed the ball to him, get him in scoring position. So if you're looking at the props bets or the extra bets, I think Højlund over 1.5 goals. If you think Denmark are going to do well, maybe get to the last 16, then that's not a bad shout. But no, for me, Dan, I understand the prices. Like I say, they're second favourites. It makes sense. But I wouldn't really be backing them. And I think, the top two market, I think they're minus 125. That sort of price in a group where there's not a great deal between the other three teams doesn't really appeal.
I presume, Nigel, you were at the England-Denmark game, were you, for the semi-final for the last year? I mean, Denmark should have won that game.
They should have won the game, but
should have won it.
It's
only 3 years ago.
Yeah, but that was an aging Denmark squad then. It's an aging Denmark squad now. I mean, Kasper Schmeichel's 37. They've got 11 players in the squad who are over 30 years of age. I think their time's come. They've got some young. Højlund is obviously the youngest player in the squad at 21. But when you look at the average age of this side, they're in trouble. And obviously, if you think about that tournament in the Euros as well, that was a tournament that obviously started off so tragically in all unfortunate circumstances with the Eriksson incident, and they galvanised and they that momentum kept them going through, and everyone thought their name was on the trophy and that kind of aspect. Eriksson's come in here, but he's done nothing this season for Manchester United. He was, it was at the peak of his career, and he's 32 years of age now. I think their time was that semi-final, and I think they could be a fade in the group. I think that maybe they could finish a lot lower than. I think there may be another team that could be ahead of them in their sort of second placing. I wouldn't expect much from Denmark. But when they went into the last Euros, everybody had them as their second pick. If you looked at every tipster, they had one of the fancy side in England, France, and then everybody's second pick was Denmark. They did that by getting the semi-final. But I do think that the sort of the energy that they had from that and the togetherness they had from that Eriksson incident galvanised them to go on to that run. But this time around, I think 3 years on, I think they're an ageing side. The back four is the oldest back four in this tournament. And when you've got people like Saka and Foden running at you, and they're all in their 30s, I think they're going to be found out.
Are we saying then, Nigel, that maybe Serbia might be a bit of value, plus 115 to finish second here? I mean, they've got the likes of Mitrovic, who's been out in Saudi, not quite sure what that is worth in terms of form, and Vlahovic at Juventus here.
Savic, Tadic
in qualifying.
They've got all the itches, haven't they? Savic, Tadic, Mitrovic. They've got goals in them. I mean, they've got pace, power, strength. Yeah. I think that Serbia would be my team to come through this. If I was, I think if you were looking for a side to qualify, and you're looking for an angle, Serbia would be that side. I think they've got a chance. I really do. I mean, their last one was a 3-0 win against Sweden, which was a good performance. Good goals, look good. They know what you're going to expect from them. They're going to play with passion, pride, and they've got some quality players in this team. So I think that they are the side out of the two. If someone's giving me a match bet, which one I think would progress, and especially when these two meet, I definitely want to be on the Serbia camp rather than Denmark.
James?
Yeah, and if you look at the prices, Nigel, they're exact finishing order with Bet Rivers. England, Denmark, plus 175. England, Serbia, plus 275. Now, which of those two would you want to be on? I think there's as much quality, if not more individual quality, and certainly more individual goals threat in this Serbia side than there is in the Denmark side. I think they scored in all 8 of their qualifiers. And interestingly, I think Serbia had the highest percentage of headed goals in the qualifying matches. Now, that's interesting, I think, for the England game, because England are without Harry Maguire at the back, which might make them a bit more vulnerable to one of the threats that Serbia have got. But I think more generally, pushing through the group, with that individual goals threat they've got in what is quite a mediocre group below England, why not Serbia? And I think then when you build the prices in, and you look at the fact they are a much bigger price than Denmark to be, whichever way you want to split it, exact finishing position or qualify or top two, I'd much rather be on Serbia than on Denmark.
A quick line on Slovenia from you both. What are we thinking here, James, when it comes to Slovenia? They're minus 139 to finish bottom. They are 10-1 to win the section.
Well, I actually feel a bit sorry for Slovenia in the market, to be honest with you, because they're being completely written off by most people, having done far better, I think, than most people would have thought in the qualifiers. As we said, they matched Denmark in the qualifying group. I think against that, lack of experience at big tournaments, I think that's going to be a challenge for them to cope with the experience of being there. Whether the experience might take something away from the competitive edge, I don't know. They've got a little bit of quality, haven't they? We think in both penalty areas with Sesko and the goalkeeper as well. I think Sesko minus 200 to get a goal. That's in the over 0.5 goals market. It's obviously a short price, but if they're going to score, I think he'll be on penalties as well. Would be him. I get it. They're very short. They're very short to finish bottom, aren't they? They look the outsiders. Maybe a little bit underrated, Dan. Maybe, but I wouldn't fancy them enough to back them myself. So there'd be a team to watch really and monitor during the group stages for me.
Yeah, they open up against Denmark. You tend to think, Nigel, if they are going to do something, they need a positive result in their first game.
I think that's a good unders bet, the first match, Slovenia and Denmark. I wouldn't be surprised to see that being a draw, 1-1 draw, 0-0 draw, and set up for the second match. I think their star man is the goalkeeper, and that really tells you what the tournament's going to lie ahead for them. If you look at my notes here, I've got Sesko at 2-1 to be the top Slovenian scorer. If they're going to score, I agree with James, it's probably going to be him. He would be the bet if you were looking for an angle one. He's only 21, plays for Leipzig, got goals in him. So I think Sesko would probably be the bet, but I think they're going to be found out against the top the Serbians and the English. But they've done well coming in. Their form coming in is pretty good, and they've done better than Denmark in qualification. But in the two matches against Denmark, they couldn't beat them as a draw and a win for the Danes. So Denmark have that advantage. But I do think that first match between the two of these will be a very low scoring draw.
Gives you 1, 2, 3, 4 England when it comes England? Nigel? I'm calling Nigel England here. It's just because of gives you 1, 2, 3, 4 Nigel when it comes to groups.
I'm going to go for England to win it, Serbia to come second. I'm going to go for Slovenia to come third and Denmark, an aging Denmark side, to come bottom.
Denmark is 6-1 to finish bottom of the group. James?
England 1, Serbia 2, Denmark 3, Slovenia 4.
See, for all the sort of Aunt Slovenia good chat, he still puts on 4. There you go.
Well, I just think if that first match goes to a draw, which I think it possibly will, then it would just be whoever got beat by the least by the other two. So I think the other two will beat them. So I think it's imperative for Denmark to win that first match. If they don't win that first match, I think that 6-1 could be a big price.
Let's get to Group D. France, Netherlands, Austria and Poland. France minus 182 to win the group. Netherlands plus 275. Austria 8-1. Poland 10-1. France, of course, topped Group B, James, ahead of the Dutch. And, of course, we're runners-up last World Cup. I mean, I think France will win the tournament. I don't think they'll have many issues getting out of this group. How do you see it?
Yeah, I tend to agree, Dan. I don't think they'll have many issues getting out of this group. I think I said to Nigel last week, England were going to win the tournament. I've since changed my mind and I've gone with France.
I can't remember.
What we said last week, I think you can forget about everything.
I can't even remember meeting you last week. Where did I meet you last week?
So maybe that's why I changed my mind. I don't know. But yeah, I think they'll be fine, Dan. I mean, it's not as easy as England's group, I don't think, is it? On paper, it's a bit tougher. It's more of a challenging set of 3 games for France, but they should get through it. I think they are deservedly in the top 2 in the betting. My thinking on the outright, just to very quickly mention that, the more I've looked at it, the more I think they probably should be neck and neck with England, actually, rather than a bigger.
It might be
price
just
than
where the
England.
group's drawn. I mean, if you put England in
Yes.
this group and France in England's group, the outrights might be the other way around. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, completely. And I think they'll be fine. I mean, it's interesting. Netherlands are the second rated team in the group. These two met in qualifying. France beat them pretty comfortably home and away, so that's quite a good measure of the strength of those two sides. And they shouldn't have too many problems to finish ahead of Austria either. I know they're fancied by a lot of people, but I think France will be absolutely fine here. So they should win the group. They're obviously very short favourites to do it. I wouldn't personally be backing them to win the group at those odds, but I do think there are markets here on France and also on the Netherlands which are worth looking at.
James, do you think France have got a better squad than England?
It's a good question. Yes, I do. I think it's better balanced. I think that's one thing I would say. I'm not saying Southgate's done anything wrong, but only having, for example, one real left-back, if you can use that term. If you look at France's squad, it was almost impossible to pick any holes in it. There was no debate. There was no conversation about anybody that had been left out. He's picked the right squad. The other thing that France have is it's changed very little from the squad of 18 months ago at the World Cup. If anything, it's maybe a little bit better because certain players are back from injury and they've added 1 or 2 new faces. So, yes, I would. If I'm asked, yes, I would say it's slightly better than England's.
I mean, minus 182. I mean, I know we don't generally go that low, Nigel, with selections here, but I mean, if you're a heavy minus money hitter here, I mean, there might not be too many better bets. I mean, I think France are nailed down to win this. What do you think?
Well, everyone went in the last Euros with the belief that France were going to turn up and win it. I fell into the trap and had a decent bet on them, and they let me down. And then they obviously went to the World Cup and got to the final tremendously well. I agree with your assumption of that France are a better squad than England. I think they're a much better squad than England, and I'm the biggest England fan there is. I think England's starting 11, if it gels, is as good as France. And I think where France have got the edge of England is the players on the bench. They can change the matchup, and the manager. The manager is key for the French here. He's seen it, done it. As a player and as a manager, the experience he has is better than anyone, and that is worth a huge amount of percentage favour as far as a bet's concerned. So I think that France are equal to England, but I think they're in the wrong side. I think the fact that they're meeting each other, that's why I wouldn't put France up potentially, because that's going to be a 50-50 game if they meet in the semi-final. That's why I think the value's on the other side. But for this French side is tremendous, and I made the point in the show we did yesterday. 147 goals, international goals between their front three. That is incredible. England have 3 goals from Harry Kane in their. And you look at it: Griezmann, Mbappe, and Giroud, and England got Harry Kane, Ollie Watkins, and Ivan Toney. That tells you the difference. That's where the depth. And when you look at Saliba, can't even get in the starting 11. He's the best defender in England. He's played in the Premier League, played every minute for Arsenal. He can't even get in there. It's staggering what they've got here. If you are going to take the minus 185 or to win the group, yeah, you have it. But teams start slowly. And I've said it before. There will be a heavy minus money favourite in one of these groups that doesn't deliver. I don't think it would be France, but I think I would like to get them to go deep in the tournament rather than take the chance of them to win the group at the low odds.
James, you have got a couple of selections for us when it comes to France. One specifically about their performance in the group stages, and then another we've got a player prop. What have you got for us?
Yeah, well, one of the things that's difficult about international football generally, Dan, is trends, isn't it? Because they're only every 2 years and managers come and go. One of the advantages you've got with France is they're always there, and you've got a manager who's been there forever, hasn't he, Didier Deschamps? So he's been there 12 years, I think. You're actually able to spot trends with this France team because he doesn't really change his methodology too much. And one of the things that's come through under Didier Deschamps is that France don't get maximum points in the group stage. They just don't do it. And the main reason they don't do it is generally they win their first 2 matches. He completely writes off the third match if they're already qualified. Now, might not happen. They might not win their first 2 matches, but then if they don't, then they're not going to get 9 points anyway, are they? So you sort of got each side batting for you. And if you look back through major tournaments that France have played under Deschamps, it is amazing the degree to which he has written off the last game if they've already got 2 wins in the bag. If you go back to the World Cup in 2014, they drew that final game 0-0 against Ecuador. Euro 2016, on home soil, was there any interest in winning the final game in front of their own fans? None whatsoever. They drew 0-0 against Switzerland. Then if you go back to the last 2 World Cups, they drew 0-0 against Denmark in 2018, having already won their first 2 games. And last time out in Qatar, they lost their final game against Tunisia.
I remember that.
So he tends to write them off. He will rotate extremely heavily if France have already got 2 wins in the bag. And he won't really care about the result. He'll just care about giving those other players a run out. So I think the value on France in the group stages is to back them to not get 9 points. And on Bet Rivers, you can do that by simply splitting your stakes or having 2 bets, however you want to do it. But I would look at backing France to get 6 points, which is available at plus 350. That would be 2 wins and a defeat. Or 7 points at plus 250, which is 2 wins and a draw. I think that the way that Deschamps sets up the team and the way he approaches the group stage, he's just not bothered about getting those 3 wins. So he'll go all out to get them qualified as soon as they can, get 2 wins in the bag, and then you're through. And then we'll see France really put the brakes on in that final game. So, yeah, this has been quite a profitable system at the last couple of tournaments with France. And I don't see, with the same manager in charge, why it would change.
Love that. That's very, very shrewd. We are going to split our stakes with France group stage points 6 and 7 at plus 350, plus 250. And you've got a player prop for us as well, James?
Yeah, player prop, a little bit like Nigel's. It's on Trent actually for Arsenal. It's for England. It's Ousmane Dembele to get the most assists for France. He's available.
Is Dembele signing for Arsenal? What do you know?
No, they wish. No, he won't be doing that. I don't think anytime soon. Well, you never know, but I doubt it. Plus 500, so he's not quite as big as Trent, and he's the third favourite in this market for France, behind Mbappe and Griezmann. But I still think he's too big, and I still think he's too far down the market. The thing that surprised me about this market, Dan, was Mbappe being favourite at plus 200 in the assist market. We know he can assist players, and he'll probably start out on the left wing, but he's got no interest at all in setting anybody up when he plays for France. He's going for goals, really. And I think, a lot of the creative responsibility in this team will fall on Griezmann, as it always does. He's likely to take most of the set pieces, but also on Dembele. So he's got two factors, I think, in his favour here. The first is, as we're heading into the tournament, he is a guaranteed starter for France on the right wing. So he should get the game time. Obviously, things can change during the tournament, but he is a starter as we're talking now. And the second thing, he's got a very good understanding on the pitch with Mbappe. They're very close off the pitch, and anybody that's watched a lot of PSG this season has seen that link-up play. And Dembele did actually finish a joint top assist provider in League One this season. So there's plenty of reasons, I think, why Dembele should be in there. With France, they might share them out anyway. You've got Griezmann, as I've mentioned. Giroud, if he plays, or Thuram might play, will be laying the ball off for Mbappe as well. So they'll be in the mix. But I do think plus 500 on Dembele, given that he's a starter as we're talking now, is a big price.
Let's get some thoughts on the other teams. We've got a few more plays as well. The Dutch, Nigel, second favourites to win the group, plus 275, minus 155 for a top two finish. Are they vulnerable here? What do you make of Ronald Koeman's side?
I think they're a decent side. They did really well in the World Cup, didn't they? They pushed Argentina very, very close in that crazy match. How they sort of come back, and it was it ebbed and flowed, and then they lost on a penalty. Was it a penalty shootout? It was a penalty shootout, wasn't it? They lost on the penalty shootout. Yeah. But it was. I think if they can replicate that form, they'll be okay. I do question them. I think Corey Gakpo's a decent player. He's had an indifferent start to life in the Premier League. He sort of come onto the big stage there, and everyone thought he was going to be a superstar, but it hasn't really delivered for him in the Premier League. My big question mark is the manager. I'm not really convinced by Ronald Koeman. I mean, a former Everton manager, and I just can't see Ronald Koeman. And the Dutch always have problems internally, don't they? Every time they go to a major championship, there's always some kind of problem, and I don't think they've got the squad to go deep. Obviously, they need Van Dijk to have a tournament. But I think up against the French, they're going to be found out. If the Dutch had to play the French last, on that brilliant bit of advice from James there, they may have had a chance. But I think they're a fade in this tournament. I'm not buying the Dutch at all.
You've got some selections for us, James, when it comes to the Netherlands here. You think that they might go relatively deep?
Yeah, I'm much more of a fan of them than Nigel, to be honest. But I understand his concerns. I don't like the manager either. I'm really backing the Netherlands to do, I'd say well here, because I'm backing them to make the quarterfinals at plus 125. For me, it's really about the strength of the players. It's almost in spite of Koeman, really, because I don't think he'll get the best out of them. But I quite fancy them in this group, first of all, because mainly because, obviously, number 1, 3 teams can go through, right? So then they've got a chance of being in the last 16 anyway. But I don't see that much of a threat from Austria as a lot of people. I know a lot of people are talking about Austria as the dark horses. For me, I know we're going to come on to them, but for me, they're overrated. So I think Netherlands, almost by default, for me, are going to finish second in this group. It's more a question of the quality, as I say, that they've got. If you look through that side, Virgil van Dijk, Ake, Gakpo, Memphis Depay, some of the fringe players who will fill up that team as well aren't bad either. I just feel once the tournament gets going, that quality should come through and should be enough to get them into the last 16. I personally think they'll get there as second place in this group, in which case they've got a relatively easy last 16 game on paper. So that led me towards the first of my tips here, which is Netherlands to make the quarterfinals, plus 125. It's not a massive price, but it's a little bit bigger than I thought it might be. They are, I think, 6th in the outright betting. So this is, you could argue, a little bit big. I think they're good enough to get to the last 8. I'd be very surprised if they went deeper than that. But for me, it's really about that individual quality they've got, rather than any sort of great tactical, brilliance from the manager. One other thing, Dan, just to say about the Netherlands, they are in decent form, actually, against everybody other than the top teams, which, to make the quarterfinals potentially wouldn't matter. They probably would get knocked out, I think, in the knockout phase against one of the top sides. But the only teams they've lost to in sort of the last almost year are France and Germany. Other than that, they've been steamrolling teams. They've won a lot of games to nil. They've had a couple of morale-boosting wins going into the tournament against Iceland, who obviously gave England problems, and Canada, who gave France problems. They've beaten them both 4-0. Now, do pre-tournament friendlies matter? No, probably not, but it doesn't do any harm, does it? So I think they're going in decent shape, and I just feel that plus 125 to reach the quarters is a little bit big. Has
James persuaded you, Nigel?
No.
I knew that was coming. I read over
talking
the
double Dutch.
I thought they were unlucky against Argentina.
I never rated them though. They were getting heavily bet. A lot of people liked them, but I just couldn't have them. They were under Van Gaal then at that tournament, and
they started well, I think, didn't they?
Yeah, there's something about this Dutch side. I think they were absolute. Anything can capitulate, implode at any given time, and I just think Koeman's a bit of a hothead. I just can't have the manager.
Just one other play that we've got, and it's top Dutch scorer that James is going to give his pick on here. I mean, it's interesting because we've talked about a lot of their very good players. This particular performer, I would never put down as a very good player, but he can be effective, James.
He can be effective, yeah. Wout Weghorst to be top Dutch scorer at plus 900.
Stop sniggering, Nigel.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. So it's
he was the one who changed the game against Argentina.
Yeah, that's true. Brilliant.
He changed the game.
Yeah.
And he's sixth biggest in this market. Can you believe that? Sixth biggest when you're Wout Weghorst? I'm not sure he should be that big. So there's lots. Yeah,
Surely he should be the biggest. He's about 7'3", isn't he? Anyway, go on.
Well, he should. And also, the thing is, Depay is the favourite right now. I don't know what other people think of him. You put. We talked about this in the notes. He's not played that much football. No. Depay. He's also going into the tournament. We think not fully fit. Weghorst will get game time. We know he'll get game time. He came on in one of their two pre-tournament friendlies and scored. I think he got 3 goals in the qualifiers. He's very much part of this squad, and he's very much part of the team. Now, he might not be a starter. But, you don't need to be a starter at the start of the tournament to end up top scorer. I mean, Marco van Basten wasn't the starter, was he, in 88? So it can happen. You don't need him to be top scorer in the tournament. I just feel that plus 900 and the 6th biggest in this market has got Depay ahead of him, but also Gakpo ahead of him. Players that probably will get less game time are shorter than him in this market. For a player with a decent track record, big tournament experience, scored in the qualifiers, plus 900 to be top Dutch scorer, I'm willing to take that.
Yeah, value play. 2 more nations to rattle through before we get the boys 1, 2, 3, 4. I like Austria, but I sense that you two are down on the Austrians here. Nigel, you can go first.
I don't mind them. I don't mind them. No,
I know that they've been touted around a little bit. They're around about 80 to 1 to win it, and I would have preferred them to be drawn in an easier group because this is tough. But I mean, they've been in great form.
Yeah, I mean, they've had wins over Germany, wins over Turkey, very easy 6-1, unbeaten coming into the tournament. Sabitza's obviously played well for Dortmund, obviously got them to the Champions League final, and they were the ones I wanted to get with ahead of the Dutch. I thought the Dutch sometimes never deliver, and I thought the Austrians might give them a chance here. So. Yeah, I quite like them. At a big price, I thought they might be. I'm going to come on to my finishing positions in a minute, but I thought that coming in a bit of form, nobody really expects anything from them. I know there's a couple of people are talking them up, but nobody really expects much. But I don't think there's a big gulf between Austria and the Netherlands. I think Netherlands, again, talking about teams that are ageing, I think the Dutch are ageing as well. So, Austria. I worry about they're going to get the goals from. That would be a little bit slight concern.
That is the slight concern. I mean, Arnautovic, I think, might play up front. I'm not.
They got the guy. I can't remember the guy's name. They got a guy for Freiburg, haven't they, in the Bundesliga? They got the striker there, but he hasn't had a good season. I think he's only scored about 6 goals. But I just got a feeling that they're going to be hard to beat. They're going to be well organised, good manager, and I think the manager is important. It's really, really important. And obviously talking about like manager Deschamps, I think that's worth a huge amount of percentage in the betting market for the manager, and I think, I think they go well. So I'm not going to rule them out at all. No.
James, you are going to rule them out, maybe.
I'm not a fan at all of Austria. I must admit, part of this is irrational, to be honest. There's always one team, isn't there, that does really well in qualifying, gets loads of support, and then they're absolutely rubbish at the tournament. And it's partly because they're getting so much support on social media. They're a bit of a hipster choice, are Austria, which sort of sets me against them straight away, to be honest. But I get it. They are well organised. They did do well in qualifying. They've got a good team there, haven't they? They've got players playing good football for good teams in a good league in Germany, a lot of them, and so I get it. But like you guys, I worry a little bit about the where the goals are going to come from, and I just feel that it's maybe that first tournament for this group and that manager where actually they've peaked. They peaked in the qualifying, and it will be a tough test. So it's a tough group, isn't it? I get Nigel's reservations about the Netherlands, but that individual quality that they're going to meet when they play the Netherlands, and also France is going to be a big challenge. So, yeah, I understand. I mean, they are actually, you could argue, quite well priced and still enough value there to bring people in because the Netherlands and France are going to attract a lot of attention, but not for me. No, I just slightly nervous about a side who don't have any track record in big tournaments and also don't really have those match-winning players. Those two factors for me are why I'm ruling
Just
them
one
out.
other positive for him. Rangnick obviously turned down Bayern Munich to stay with the Austrian national side, so he must see something there, and obviously they went for a better coach in Vincent Kompany, but
indeed,
but that's a big statement, that to decide to stay the national boss of Austria rather than go and manage Bayern Munich. So he must see something there.
Gregoritsch is the player you're thinking about at Freiburg. You're spot on, Nigel. If only Tony Polster was still around, or Hans Krankel, but we haven't got those anymore. One more team to look at here. We have got a play here, so we'll get to Nigel's play on this one. This is Poland, Nigel.
Yeah, I was yesterday at Liam Gallagher concert at the O2, and I had a telephone call. I was frantically trying to ring Dan to try to get me on Poland to finish bottom of the group here because both Lewandowski come off injured after about 25 minutes in the final warm-up game against Turkey, and I thought we've got to get on this quickly. The line was minus 120 last night. It's moved quite heavily. It's down to, was it now down about minus
143?
Yeah, I mean that's
this is to finish bottom.
This is to finish bottom. Yeah, Poland to finish bottom in this group. This was a side that really struggled in qualification. I mean, in their group, they had Albania, Czech Republic, Moldova and Faroe Islands, and they finished third in that group. I mean, that is a shocking. And only scored 10 goals in 8 matches when you consider they played Faroe Islands twice and Moldova twice. Against Wales in the playoff, they managed to get through without having a shot on target. So that shows you the time. And then they've obviously lost Milik. He's not travelling. He's out the squad. And now Lewandowski is a injury doubt for the first match. I was absolutely so bullish of this, and I've actually done a video to say that this was my best bet of the tournament. It was my best bet until I looked and they play France last. And now I'm thinking, oh no, what a disaster. But I think that if you take Lewandowski and Milik out of this Polish side, they've got absolutely nothing, and I think they're going to be found out. And I like them to finish bottom without the news yesterday of Lewandowski coming off. But another player came off as well yesterday. I can't remember the guy's name, but there was another.
Svidierski came off. I'm not sure.
There was another guy who come off injured as well. So. Yeah, I'm going to go Poland to finish bottom.
Final thoughts from you, James, when it comes to Poland?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that qualifying record was poor. That the playoff game was poor, wasn't it? I mean, the Lewandowski thing, it's a huge blow if he is out. I know they've said they're quite optimistic, haven't they, the Poland camp, about it. I mean, I think, is he a one-man team? Can a one-man team do anything in a tournament? Yeah, they can, actually. I think if he is fit for the games, I still think it gives them a chance. They're not a great team, but it gives them a chance. And the point Nigel makes there about the fact they play the French last, that is a genuine factor. If France have won their first 2 matches, that is a genuine factor because they would be playing a second-string France team. Make no mistake about it. So the way the fixtures fall, even if it's only 3 games in the group, it can be crucial.
You need France to get beaten in the first game, Nigel. That's what you got to be rooting for.
Nah. I thought I was onto something. Now I'm worried about it. Okay.
Let's get you 1, 2, 3, 4 then for Group D. Nigel, what's your 1, 2, 3, 4?
France,
yeah,
Austria, the Netherlands, and Poland.
James.
France 1, Netherlands 2, Poland 3, Austria 4.
Interesting. Austria to finish bottom are plus 125 at the moment. So that potentially could be a bet. Who knows? We will find out when the groups kick off and get completed. That wraps up Betting Weekly Extra Time Euro 2024 edition. A reminder, we'll be with you throughout the tournament with the best picks match by match to stay with us then on the road to Berlin. Many thanks to Nigel and to James. For now, from all of us, though, it is goodbye.